Welcome to Journey Through the Niyamas, Santosha, brought to you by One Down Dog on Demand. I'm Courtney, and I'll be guiding you through this beautiful practice today. The yamas and the niyamas are the first two limbs of the eight limb path. The eight limb path is outlined in the Yoga Sutras. And the Yoga Sutras, I always say, is just like the handbook to yoga. It describes what yoga is, why we do yoga, what are some of the challenges that we might face on our yogic journey, and ways to perhaps avoid those challenges or to kind of move through them. The eight limb path is a path to bliss, to our highest, best self, to liberation, to enlightenment. The first two limbs really lay the groundwork for how to incorporate yoga into our day to day. So it's really the moral code, how to make yoga a lifestyle rather than just a practice that we feel like we have to do on the mat, right? So, how can we walk through the world embodying yoga at all times? The first limb are the yamas, and the yamas is really like these restraints. The second limb, the niyamas, I like to identify as observances. So these are practices and principles that we really want to welcome more into our lifestyle, to invite more of that energy in, and really kind of use that as a framework for how we move through being human, the human experience. The first niyama is saucha, and that translates to mean cleanliness or purity or order. The second niyama is santosha, which is one of my all-time favorites. And this translates to mean contentment. And so, right, we hear that word contentment, and some of you might be cringing at home because it's like, what does that mean? And how do I actually attain contentment, right? We are human after all, and being human is fucking hard. Excuse my French, but it's just the truth. I always like to think of riding the Sattvic wave. So without having to explain too much more to you or teach you too much more about philosophy, Sattva is this kind of balanced state, right? It's like the middle ground. There's Rajas where we might be feeling like fiery and kind of like up here and anxious and heightened. There's Tamas where we might be feeling like really lethargic or depressed or slow to move and change. And then there's Sattva, this really beautiful space. I always think of it as like kind of surfing, right? So we're kind of riding the wave where it might be taking us up, it might be taking us down, but we're able to like maintain some sense of control, some sense of ease. So ways that we can perhaps find santosha in our day-to-day life. I always think of a pause. Whenever I find myself in a heated moment, sometimes with my partner, sometimes with whoever is getting some of this today, can I take a moment outside? Can I move outside of the conflict? Can I breathe? A moment to reflect, to pause, right? So I think of this pause, and for me, the pause is that that moment of finding santosha. Jumping on the proverbial like surfboard, and being able to understand that I might be up right now, I might be down right now, but I know where I want to be, right? I know I want to kind of like meet myself in the middle. So I think pausing, taking a moment away from whatever is the confrontation or the conflict is a beautiful way to invite more santosha into our being. But I also think finding beautiful ways to find stress relief. So whether it's taking a walk, whether it's doing yoga. Hello, yoga is a beautiful way to practice and to incorporate more santosha into our lives. Whether it's cooking a good meal, whether it's talking to a therapist, but finding ways to stress relief, ways that are going to help us kind of come out of the intensity of the moment, and know that there's a softening that awaits us if we can lean into it. So the way that we'll practice that and embody that, right, is through a little bit of asana and some breath work. So we'll do a tiny bit of asana, something that you can do every day if you want, every day if you are feeling like you really need to kind of embrace this practice of Santosha. And then we'll end with alternate nostril breathing, which is really just like an equalizing breath, a breath that can be really, really grounding, a breath that kind of brings us back to the middle. So with that being said, let's make our way into tabletop position. Feel free to grab any props that you like to have nearby. I have my 2 blocks at the front of my mat. And so we're going to think about riding the wave as we start with some cat-cow. Inhale to drop your belly, lift your hips. Exhale to round. So see if you can smooth out the edges. Even though these are 2 extremes, can you find the middle? Can you embrace that moment of transition from one to the next? From one shape to the next. And let your breath really guide you. And then I'm going to encourage some circles. So I'm going to take my head and my hips over to the right. I'm going to round my back as I exhale, finish the circle as I come through the left, and bring my head and hips up. So again, smoothing out the edges, finding this dance, and then beginning to go the other way. My hair is going crazy. I think of that song, I whip my hair back and forth, which probably really ages me, that I use that Courtney joke. One more time this way. Good. And then either coming into down dog or staying in tabletop. Right leg lifts. Place the foot in between your hands and we'll all lower our back knee down. Arms up to the sky, inhale. And then as you exhale, straighten your front leg and fold. So you can use blocks underneath your hands or not. It's up to you. And we're going to go a few times like that. So inhale, arms up. And exhale, straighten and fold. Again, think about riding that wave. So finding the middle. Maybe even closing your eyes. Santosha for me is really about balance. It's not about being joyful all the time. I'm wary of anybody who's joyful all the time. Like, what are you smoking? You'll cut that out, I hope. Arms up, take an inhale, and exhale, fold. 2 breaths here. Softening. I know for some of us, hamstrings is challenging, but can you find a little ease here? Shoulders away from the ears. And then inhale, bend into your front knee. You'll make your way back into tabletop or down dog. It's up to you. We'll move to the second side, left leg up. And exhale, place the foot in between your hands. Lower the back knee down. Arms up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, straighten the front leg, fold. So we'll do this a few times again with your breath. Ride the sattvic wave, finding that Santosha, contentment as you move from 2 extremes. And then next time you fold, you'll hold here in Ardha Hanumanasana. Flex your front foot. Shoulders away from the ears, soften the jaw. Inhale, bend into your front knee. Come back into tabletop or downward facing dog. Take an inhale. And we'll all drop our knees and sit on the heels, setting up for alternate nostril breathing. So I'm going to pull my index finger and my middle finger in and leave the other fingers out. I'm going to use my ring finger and my thumb. So I'm going to plug up my left nostril I'm going to inhale through my right. Plug up my right nostril, exhale through my left. Inhale through my left. Plug it up, exhale through my right. Inhale through my right. Plug it up, exhale through my left. Inhale through left. Plug, exhale through right. Inhale through right. Plug, exhale through left. Just a couple more times on your own. Next time you exhale on your left, release your fingers. Inhale through both nostrils. Sigh it out. Hands to your heart. Namaste.